When people talk about famous cities in the United States, certain names always come to mind. New York, with its iconic Times Square, Los Angeles, home to Hollywood, and Washington, D.C., where the White House stands as the heart of the nation's government. Yet, Florida rarely enters that conversation, even though it's widely recognized, especially among the wealthy. Known as the Sunshine State, Florida offers warm weather, beautiful beaches, and the added bonus of having no state income tax. Living here brings a lifestyle that's hard to find anywhere else in the U.S. But let's not jump to conclusions. Florida isn't without its problems. Beneath the sunshine and ocean views, the state hides a darker side. Long-standing issues have plagued it for years, and many of these problems remain unresolved. That's exactly what we'll explore in this video, the less glamorous side of Florida. Let's begin with a major issue: crime and violence. Florida has gained a reputation for having crime rates higher than the national average. Data shows that there are 2,355 arrests per 100,000 residents in Florida, which is above the U.S. average of 2,182 per 100,000. The majority of these cases are property crimes, with 348,403 incidents reported each year. Meanwhile, violent crimes, including assault, robbery, and other forms of violence, account for 57,587 cases annually. What's even more unsettling is that some of the state's most dangerous areas are also its biggest tourist attractions. Popular spots like Miami Beach, Daytona Beach, Lake Worth Beach, and Lake City make it to the top of the list for crime, creating a tough challenge for Florida's tourism industry. After all, Florida promotes these destinations as must-see vacation spots, but the crime statistics paint a different picture. In discussions about Florida's crime, one term stands out: Florida man. This phrase, which has gone viral on social media, describes the outrageous and irrational actions of some Florida residents. What began as bizarre stunts, like catching an alligator with bare hands, has evolved into increasingly reckless and dangerous behavior. At first, these antics were seen as quirky, even amusing, but over time, they've grown more alarming. Take, for example, a man who drove down the highway on a scooter while sitting on a full-size sofa, or the individual who committed a robbery dressed as Spider-Man. These stories, while strange, reveal a deeper issue within the state. The situation takes a darker turn when it involves extreme violence. One chilling case involved a man who killed his wife and then pretended to be her for several days to avoid suspicion. Cases like these highlight that the Florida man phenomenon isn't just about weird behavior. It reflects deeper societal issues, such as mental health struggles and violent tendencies, that Florida has yet to fully address. Florida's crime issues go beyond theft and violence. It also faces a growing drug problem. One alarming example is the spread of a new synthetic drug called N,N-dimethylpentylone hydrochloride, which has become popular among young people due to its low price. The drug crisis here is deeply troubling, not just because of the increasing number of addicts, but because of the devastating impact it has on individuals and communities. Many users lose their way, becoming vulnerable to exploitation. One of the most disturbing outcomes is that drug addicts often become targets for human trafficking. In a report by NBC News, a survivor named Simone shared her story of being trapped in a cycle of addiction and trafficking. She revealed that she was sold into the trafficking network at the age of 19. Unfortunately, cases like Simone's are not isolated incidents. Florida's deep-rooted trafficking problem has also contributed to another grim statistic. The state ranks third in the U.S. for the highest number of HIV/AIDS cases. Florida's nightlife, especially in cities like Miami and Orlando, is legendary. But beyond the glitz and glamour lies a dangerous underworld. Many high-end nightclubs serve as hotspots for illegal drug activity. Dealers exploit the party atmosphere, making it easy to distribute narcotics to party-goers looking for a thrill. Unfortunately, drugs are only one part of the problem. Florida has also become a major hub for human trafficking in the U.S., with some nightclubs and bars serving as fronts for illegal exploitation. What may appear to be vibrant nightlife scenes often hide grim realities, where young women and sex workers are trafficked and forced into dangerous situations. This dark undercurrent is a growing concern, reflecting the state's struggle with crime and exploitation beneath the surface of its glamorous reputation. Crime and addiction aren't the only challenges Florida faces. Homelessness is also a long-standing issue. According to recent data, Florida has a homelessness rate of 11.9 per 10,000 people, placing it around the middle of U.S. states in this category. However, the numbers tell a different story in absolute terms. There are 31,462 homeless individuals in Florida, and many of them live in makeshift camps, which often deteriorate into unhygienic, unsafe environments. A clear example of this is in Pasco County, where a homeless camp turned what was once a lush forest into a squalid and overcrowded area. The underlying causes of homelessness in Florida vary, from drug addiction and untreated mental illness to a simple lack of affordable housing. Many of the state's homeless population are people who fell through the cracks of an overstretched system, unable to find the support they need. Florida's homelessness problem is directly tied to its severe housing shortage. One critical issue is the lack of affordable housing for low-income renters. Currently, Florida offers only 25 affordable units for every 100 low-income renters, leaving many with nowhere to go. This shortage creates fierce competition for available housing, giving landlords the upper hand to raise rent prices unchecked, knowing that there will always be tenants willing to pay. The housing crisis has multiple causes, starting with high levels of migration to the state. Florida's popularity as both a retirement destination and a place for new residents has driven housing demand to unprecedented levels. In response, property values have soared, with home prices rising between 5% and 18% in recent years. Unfortunately, wage growth hasn't kept pace. Florida's average wage increase is only 4.3%, far below what's needed to match the rising cost of living. For many, this means their income simply can't keep up with housing prices, forcing them into homelessness or precarious living situations. Florida's housing problems are made even worse by the constant threat of natural disasters and environmental crises. The state is notorious for being in the path of tropical storms and hurricanes year after year. The most recent example is Hurricane Helena and Ann Milton, which struck in late September 2024. Classified as a Category 4 hurricane, Helena brought winds of up to 140 miles per hour, storm surges, and severe flooding, resulting in the tragic loss of 63 lives. The Big Bend region suffered the most significant damage, with homes and businesses submerged underwater and widespread power outages affecting thousands. Unfortunately, hurricanes are nothing new to Florida. Just 2 years earlier, in 2022, the state was hit by one of the deadliest storms in recent memory, Hurricane Ian. With wind speeds reaching 160 miles per hour, Ian caused more than 100 fatalities and inflicted $113 billion in property damage. While not every year brings a storm of Ian's magnitude, smaller floods occur frequently, causing chronic problems across the state. One of the reasons Florida is so vulnerable to flooding is rising sea levels driven by climate change. Data shows that sea levels in Florida are increasing by 1 inch every 3 years, putting the state's coastal areas at constant risk. In addition to flooding, sinkholes, sudden collapses of the ground, are another major threat. These sinkholes can appear with no warning, swallowing entire properties and even claiming lives. Alongside natural disasters, Florida faces significant environmental challenges. One of the most alarming is the recurring red tide phenomenon, caused by the proliferation of toxic algae known as Karenia brevis. Red tide leads to the mass death of marine life, with dead fish washing ashore in large numbers. Even worse, the algae release toxins that can become airborne, posing health risks to humans by causing respiratory issues. Florida is also home to dangerous wildlife, and the state has been struggling with a reptile crisis. While alligators are often seen casually wandering through neighborhoods, their large size makes them a serious hazard. However, alligators are not the only concern. The state is also dealing with an infestation of giant pythons, some reaching up to 19 feet long. These cold-blooded snakes, which originally escaped captivity or were released into the wild, are thriving as Florida's rising temperatures destroy natural habitats, forcing wildlife out of hiding. Florida isn't just known for its warm weather and vibrant tourism. It's also home to the Villages, one of the largest retirement communities in the country. On the surface, the Villages is promoted as a peaceful haven where seniors can enjoy their golden years. However, the community has earned a reputation for some unexpected and troubling issues. In recent years, there have been multiple arrests of elderly residents for drug possession. Even more concerning is the lack of control some residents display during court proceedings, painting a stark contrast to the image of peaceful retirement life. But perhaps the most shocking revelation is the rise of swinging parties, where couples swap partners. These activities have led to the spread of sexually transmitted diseases among the elderly population, exposing a vulnerable group to serious health risks. What was once seen as an idyllic place for retirement has now become notorious for behaviors that are at odds with its original image. The darker side of life in the Villages reveals that even seemingly perfect environments can have their share of hidden problems. Living in Florida isn't just about warm weather and beautiful beaches. There's also a dark side that shouldn't be overlooked. The Sunshine State is a place of striking contrasts, where natural beauty exists alongside serious environmental, social, and public health challenges. From hurricanes and flooding to drug abuse, human trafficking, and housing shortages, Florida's struggles remind us that appearances can be deceiving. Even places that seem like paradise can hide complex problems beneath the surface.